Hey guys, welcome back to Gaming for Immersion. My name is Michael, and those of you who are already familiar with my videos know there are a few mods that I consider to be absolute staples of the Warhammer experience. I'm talking about the ones like reduced army movement and reduced replenishment rate that turned vanilla Warhammer into a proper grand strategy game instead of the unrealistic blitz around the map semi-strategy game it is out of the box. But what I don't talk about as much, at least not from a universal perspective, meaning a mod that affects all of the factions at the same time, are the mods that just add a bunch of theme to the game. In my mind, it makes sense to break these two categories down separately because you can certainly want to mod the game into a proper grand strategy experience without really caring about theme, or you can spice up the theme without wanting to slow the game down or altering the mechanics in any substantial way. And then there are some of us who like to do both. So if you're in either of the last two groups, hopefully this video will be up your alley. So today I'm going to talk about a mod that I've been using off and on again for a long time now. I've mentioned it before and always had a vaguely good feeling about it, but only recently as I've started going through all the legendary lords in the game and trying to identify the best collection of mods for each, have I realized just how amazingly good this mod is, and just how far it's come since I first became aware of it a year or so ago. So much so that it's now become another staple in my mod list that I don't ever see replacing or removing, and it's probably the only thematic mod I can say that about. Many of you, I'm sure, are already using this mod, and if so, please share your experience with it in the comments. But if you're not already using it, I'm going to explain why this mod is an absolute must-have for any player who cares about theme or even just wants to take the standard sandbox experience of Immortal Empires and crank it up a few notches. All right, enough build-up already, Michael. Let's cut to the chase. I'm talking, of course, about Victory Conditions Overhaul. I mentioned earlier that it's come a long way since I first became aware of it, so I want to take a second to show just how far. When we look at the main menu screen, we can see just how many legendary lords, if you see this little icon right here, this tells you. So we can see just how many legendary lords have additional victory conditions added. This list goes on and on and on. Very clearly the majority. And then when we take a look at the mod page, we see that they're at 81 so far and still going strong. In fact, they've even given us a roadmap here of upcoming additions. So what I want to do for the rest of this video is a combination of talking about what's in the description here on the mod page and then also showing it in action in game. So as you can see here, unique objectives are what this adds. Victory Conditions Overhaul introduces a major rework of the default victory conditions. It rejects the classic idea of short and long campaigns and proposes a new concept based on completing routes. And so just my interjection here, I think the standard generic short and long campaigns are fine to kind of get you started, but they're not very faction specific. They're not very flavorful. And for people who don't have a super active imagination and go into a game like wanting to do their own thing, but instead want the game to kind of direct them a little bit, that's really where this mod comes in. That's where the strength of this mod is all about. Okay, so a route is a campaign all on its own, tailored for each faction, and completing it will be enough to trigger victory and receive the victory achievement. All factions have 3 routes to choose from, each with unique objectives and rewards. They are usually designed to be short to mid-length campaigns of around 50 or 70 turns. Take that with a grain of salt, at least those of you who use some of the other mods that I recommend. After victory, you can choose to pursue another route or work on all 3 simultaneously as you expand your empire. I will just say it adds an awful lot of replayability as well for people who want to complete one route, win, quote unquote, win that particular campaign, but enjoyed playing that particular legendary lord enough to want to play it again, well, you can do it a second time and a third time and actually just go for a different route here, and the campaign should play out completely differently. Okay, rewards. Completion of a route unlocks excuse me. Completion of a route unlocks flavorful rewards, which are thematic to the route's objectives. These can range from unlocking legendary heroes like Grimgor Ironbound, slave to Astragoth, to custom items stolen from the bodies of your foes, to modest stat buffs, or even dilemmas and quest battles which provide more narrative and rewards to choose from. Multiplayer. I'm not going to talk too much about multiplayer because I don't normally play multiplayer, so I can't really speak with any real expertise about that. But anyway, I'll just read what it says here. Play with friends either in head-to-head or co-op campaigns. This mod also supports both Realms of Chaos and Immortal Empires and does not interfere with the main Realms of Chaos objective. Okay, there's a Steam guide here that I'm not going to show. Instead, I'm going to jump in game here in a moment. But click here to see a list of all the supported factions and their objectives and rewards. Narrative campaigns, Legendary Lord. If you prefer campaigns with an even stronger emphasis on narrative, please consider the Legendary Lore mod, which generates text pop-ups for various actions undertaken by the player, such as defeating legendary lords and capturing significant settlements. I will say this, I've used that mod in the past, and I like what it does. It seems to me to not be very lightweight. I've kind of noticed that it tends to bog down your event messages that pop up each turn, and sometimes, at least in my case, it has caused like delays where I'm afraid that the game has broken. Having said that, it never actually did break. It just kind of delayed for a few seconds. Anyway, use that at your own risk, so to speak. It is a good mod. I just don't tend to use it very much because it does slow things down, at least for me. Okay, Warhammer 2 cinematics. If you want the Warhammer 2 cinematics to trigger with your victory conditions overhaul campaigns, please check out this mod. Again, that's obviously for each person to decide. And quest battles. VCO has brand new and returning quest battles to pursue. There are three categories of quest battles. Cut content quest battles. These quest battles were made by Creative Assembly for the Vortex campaign in Game 2. I restored them as climactic final battles for certain routes. Quest battles for old DLCs. The earliest DLCs did not feature the grand finale quest battles we have come to expect today, so I gave them quest battles to bring them up to the same level as later DLCs, which is amazing. And then finally, miscellaneous quest battles, just some random quest battles I've been thinking up and putting into the game. And there's a list of all those as well. And I'll let you read your own frequently asked questions there if you're interested in it and the message from Wolfie. All I will say at this point is try it for yourself, and if you do like it, please be sure to give the mod author some love. So yeah, let's go ahead then and jump back into the game itself. I'll show just a little bit more here from the main menu just to show you there are a few that don't have it yet, but they are being worked on. But yeah, this is just really impressive compared to where this mod was when I first became aware of it a year ago. Okay, and so all that being said, we're going to go ahead then and load into a game that I already have going. All right, so here we are in a Scarbrand campaign. This is not one that I have been publishing on the channel. This is just me experimenting, testing around to try to get the mod collection for all the best mods for a Scarbrand campaign, which, you know, sort of hint, hint right there. That's foreshadowing. Okay, but anyway, yeah. So let's take a look here at our victory conditions for Scarbrand. So you've got Route 1, and this just goes into more detail about what we just read about on the mod description. So during times of, this is Route 1, the Great Game. During times of utter destruction and murder, Khorne's bellows resound in the chaos wastes, causing madness in any that might hear. Of all the ruinous powers, Khorne is the biggest instigator of war and destruction. He will not rest until all the world is drowned in fire and blood. Ascend in the Great Game by spreading your corruption over 50 regions. Currently I'm at 42. And then control at least 8 of the following regions, either by direct ownership or through vassals and military allies. As you can see, I've got a lot of work to do on that one, but that is, you know, we're only on turn 35 here of this campaign. So anyway, then, so let's just jump around here because I want everybody to kind of get a sense for what we're talking about. So these are all over the world. You could play a campaign where you either sort of holistically get to all of these different provinces, sort of naturally as you expand, or you could obviously play a campaign where you're just making a direct path to each of these, but we're still talking about a pretty massive undertaking to get all over the map to take all of these different provinces. But if you do it, you end up with a reward here, Corn Ascendant, which gives you a plus 5% to casualty replenishment rate, an upkeep reduction for Corn Demon units, and the Skull Throne cost gets reduced by 10%, and a chance to automatically colonize. This is your Drawn to Destruction mechanic. Chance to colonize ruins at turn start is plus 15% for all provinces. So definitely very much worth getting that, but obviously it seems to me like by the time you've done all this, you probably don't really need these buffs at that point. You're probably in pretty good shape. But anyway, let's talk about the second route here, Blood for the Blood God. Skarbrand's mere presence is enough to induce gruesome displays of mad rage in friend and foe alike. The Exile's Blood Speakers hope to amplify this aura across great distances with the Blood Fane, an ancient altar built by a long-dead Barrow King who once dominated the Badlands in Khorne's name. Search for the Blood Fane by securing settlements via conquest or through vassals and military allies. Now, this is a little bit more targeted here. We're not talking quite as diversely all over the world map, but still, there's a fair amount of these settlements here that you need to take, and as you can see, I've done a little bit less than half of them so far, but they are all sort of within reach. So this certainly seems like a much more attainable route, a lot less comprehensive than that first one. And so what you get out of that, the blood must flow. Thanks to the efforts of the Blood Speaker, Skarbrand's bottomless rage now ripples across the mortal world, driving his blood hosts to new heights of slaughter. Melee attack plus 5% for all units and blood hosts. Campaign movement range plus 15% for blood hosts, and passive ability of Berserk in the faction leader's army. So definitely, again, pretty useful, particularly those blood hosts. If you're playing a Skarbrand campaign, you're probably relying a lot on blood hosts. And then, of course, Skarbrand's, by the time you've won this, Skarbrand's army is already probably quite powerful, but this is obviously going to make them even more so. And then you've also got Blood Cursed here. Attacks cause the Spirit Leech effect, which is pretty cool, draining hit points. Melee attack plus 5, spell resistance 25%, and enemy leadership minus 10 for enemy armies in the local region. So again, quite a good little unique item right there. And then finally, our third route is Skulls for the Skull Throne. Skarbrand leads his host into the blistering dunes to the south. These lands are ruled over by the Tomb Kings, long-dead warriors whose skulls are easily parted from their skeletal bodies. Let the harvest commence. Destroy the following faction, the Golden Legion here. Cetra, obviously, once again, pretty close by where Skarbrand begins, so certainly not all that difficult to accomplish that. And then you have maintain control of the following 7 provinces, either by direct ownership or through vassals and military allies. You've got a little bit more land diversity here. You're a little bit spread out through Warhammer Arabia region here. But certainly very, very doable for a Skarbrand campaign. And then you have to attain at least 10,000 skulls. And what you get for that, the Cimmerian Skull Horde. Skulls collected from skull piles plus 100%. Skulls gained from kills plus 15%. Melee attack plus 5 when fighting in desert terrain for the faction leader's army. And another unique item, Gilded Skull, Cetra's severed head, now gilded with the molten remnants of his treasure hoard at Cimmery, serves as clear proof of Skarbrand's conquest of Nehikara. So income from post-battle loot plus 15%, physical resistance 15%, passive ability the Curse, which you can see right there. It's a nice damage per second boost. And then weapon strength plus 5% when fighting against Tomb Kings. So there you have it. That's a good example, and you can, I think, already see just how flavorful, far more so than the standard generic victory conditions that vanilla Warhammer provides you. So that's Skarbrand. Got 3 different choices there about which ones you want to do. So that's it for Khorne. Excuse me, for Skarbrand. Let's jump into another campaign just as a second example. All right, and so here we are in the Emperor Karl Franz campaign. This is one of them that I do have on this channel. It's probably at this point maybe my longest running Let's Play series on this channel. And here we go. Here are the victory conditions for Karl Franz. I think this is probably going to be one of the more popular ones. So, Route 1, Protector of the Empire. A mysterious plague spreads from the north. Beastmen prey upon the Emperor's loyal subjects within the Dracwald Forest. Marienburg's secession drains the imperial coffers on a daily basis. Barely recovered from his most recent skirmish with the Greenskins at Blackfire Pass, Karl Franz readies the men for a new campaign to unite the western provinces of his empire. Maintain control of the following 11 provinces either by direct ownership or through vassals and military allies. So again, as you can see here, pretty much mostly in the general vicinity of where Karl Franz begins. This particular campaign, you're probably wondering why I haven't already succeeded at this, considering it's turn 101. Well, that's a long story. Anyway, that's the first part of it then, and then you've got destroy or vassalize the following factions. You've got Marienburg, you've got Kazrak, and you've got Festus. And what you get for that is the reclamation of Marienburg, income from trade good producing buildings plus 50%, leadership plus 10 when fighting at sea, melee attack plus 10 when fighting at sea. So certainly not overpowered, but also definitely good to have. Route 2, Defier of the Dark. Grim tidings make their way from the east. Despite his apparent death beneath the ramparts of Altdorf many years ago, the vampire Vlad von Karstein has returned. While he musters his legion of the dead, malicious tree spirits gather in the Griffin Woods, slaughtering good citizens of the Empire without rhyme or reason, and disturbing reports of doppelganger activity continue to plague Stirland. This cannot stand. Karl Franz orders his men east to put down these new threats to his reign once and for all. Maintain control of the following 11 provinces. So this is just a different collection of provinces here. Again, these still in the general vicinity of where Reichland is, but of course now we're talking about a little bit more to the east instead of to the west. And destroy or vassalize the following factions. Well, we've got Sylvania here, and we've got Wargrove of Woe. And I want to say that's Durthu, right? I always get Durthu and Draika confused. All right, anyway, then the cleansing of Sylvania is your reward. So upon the battlements of Castle Drakenhof, the Emperor slew Vlad von Karstein in personal combat, staking him through the heart to ensure he would never return. The cleansing of Sylvania has begun, though it will take many years to purge these blighted lands. Enemy hero action success chance, minus 20%. This would be wonderful for my Emperor Karl Franz campaign right now. Hero capacity plus 4 for warrior priests and witch hunters, definitely very nice indeed. And corruption minus 4, also quite useful. And then finally, Route 3, Darkness Rising. Archaon the Everchosen has united the warring tribes of the north and now marches south with the largest host ever seen in living memory. In response, Karl Franz sends his emissaries across the known world. He will assemble a grand council of war, a conclave of light to stand against the coming darkness. So here's where you move characters to different regions. So we're seeing a little bit of a variation now in the types of things that you need to accomplish. So you just need to move characters around to all of the different leaders of the Order factions, then have a defensive or military alliance with 5 factions, and destroy Archaon. So that's a tall order because, of course, his starting Dark Fortress is way up here in the north in the Chaos Wastes. Okay, but if you do it, you get the Conclave of Light. The Storm of Chaos quest battle will begin. So this is one of the aforementioned quest battles that this mod adds. So there you have it. I think that's enough examples, but obviously we've only scratched the surface here. We've covered 2 out of the 81 legendary lords that have been covered by this mod so far. But yeah, you already, I think, hopefully can get a good sense of what this mod does. Really adds a lot of theme for anybody who likes the sandbox experience, but likes to have maybe a little bit of direction in terms of what they want to set as their goals for any particular campaign. This really just adds an awful lot of that for your campaigns, gives the game an awful lot of replayability as well. Okay, anyway, I'll go ahead and leave it there, but again, again, if you have any experience with this mod, please do let us all know in the comments. And I think with that, I'll just go ahead and say thanks everybody for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next video.